Throughout our lives or in our puny existence, as evil villains have ascended to godlike beings like to say, we've all had our fair share of little gadgets, games, etc. technology that we've come to love. Like for me, I've come to love and cherish my PS Vita. Agree or disagree with me if you'd like. The PS Vita for its time felt advanced, being able to handle games of higher graphics than its competitors, the 3DS, 2DS, DS Lite, and other handheld gaming devices. And for other people, they might cherish the Walking Man. I guess we all know the Walking Man, the plays the tapes. Are we really sure about that? Are we really sure that we cherish the Walkie Man? Well, regardless, it lets you play tapes on the go, like a go-ger, always on the go, pedal to the metal vibes, because you're a busy person. And also you don't want to carry around a radio on your shoulder to listen to all those tasty tunes. And when you take a moment to look back at these cute little failed devices that caught popularity and died as fast as they came, like the pager. I mean, although it's not really a good example, because you can kind of make an argument that smartwatches are kind of like pagers. But for the sake of the argument, the video, me continuing to yap, and children in poverty, the pagers did fail. But before they failed, what was surprising to me is that we actually tried to build on this technology. And another shocking revelation is that pagers were actually invented in 1921, the Roaring 20s, the time period that my niece likes to describe as Great Gatsby time period vibes. And, she's not completely wrong, but also she's not really right. But around this time, the pager was nothing more than a little radio sitting in a cop's car in Detroit. But by 1970, they added more things to it. It was able to send tones, voice messages, pictures of your mom in a bikini. Maybe not that one, but definitely the other two. And we didn't only have the sweet add-ons of a pager during this time period, we also had the invention of the super cool, only cool kids allowed, no nerds invention, laser tag. Now, there's not really much that I remember from the 1970s. I mean, that goes for like a lot of other time periods. But what I do remember was that this was around the time that the mullet was actually really popular. This was the business in the front, part in the back hairstyle that's kind of being used nowadays. And this was also the time that Star Trek the motion picture was released. Can you believe that it's motion picture? I can kind of already hear an old man saying in the background, "Back in my day, pictures were of the moment. There's no moving images." And with Star Trek being so popular during this time, of course, what followed its success was licensed toys. And they made a lot of licensed toys. They made the typical action figures, they made spaceships, and they also made my personal favorite, helmets. This was the official Star Trek helmet. If I had one of these bad boys, it'd be over for everybody, okay? I'd be so alpha male that all the other alpha males would have to shut up whenever my little red light was on, okay? So you guys better hope that I don't get one of these. Now, with all of these licensed toys being made, there was one toy in particular that had a lot of promise, and that was the Star Trek 2, count them, 1, 2, 2 electronic phasers. Made by Self-Bend Electronics, this was the first laser tag invented. Or I should say this was technically the first laser tag invented and released to the public. Because before this, the laser tag technology that used infrared emitting light guns was first designed by the, you guessed it, US military. And before the US military released this technology to the public, they used a system called MILES, which stood for Multiple Integrated Laser Engagement System, or Most Intelligent Lemon Ever Seen for short. So what the MILES systems did was that it would simulate actual battles. So what they would do is they would get a random gun. They would take out all the bullets and they would put some sort of technology at the end of the gun. And every time the gun would fire, it would shoot out codes like computer math into the little piece of technology, and it would simulate, what are the chances of someone on the receiving end surviving. They would do this for a lot of different guns, AK-47s, 10 millimeter. I don't know any more guns, but they would definitely use a lot more guns than just those two. Those are the only guns that I remember the names to. And in order to get these sort of stats, someone would have to be on the receiving end wearing a vest that was sensitive to infrared signals. And a lot of people have misconceptions about the US military, okay? People think that there's a bunch of jacked people that have a lot of muscles that are fueled with steroids that are roaming around the US military, and they just want to blow shit up and gun things to the ground. And that's not completely true, okay? There's a lot of smart people in the US military, okay? Sure, there might be the same and where they have a lot of steroids in their body and they also want to gun shit to the ground, but they want to do it in a scientific way, because they didn't just stop at putting vests on people. They also put it on rocks, cars, buildings, ducks, crabs, basically anything that will help them simulate actual combat. Because what if they're on the battlefield and they come across an enemy's egg salad? They're going to want to know the chances of that egg salad surviving a round of bullets up its ass, okay? Because this is important stats. This is important information here. So with all of this US military technology being used in the Star Trek phaser, because now you can shoot your baby sister at home with a make-believe laser gun, and it wasn't long for a guy named George Carter III to come around and say, these cute little toys, they could be so much more. And I think I have a better idea for these things. Why not make it into a team effort instead of just two people? Let's make it more. And he did. He invented what was called Photon, the ultimate game on planet Earth. And this is a really cool name. I don't think I would have named laser tag anything else. I think I would have been like laser gunfights. Now, we gotta admit, some of the names for things during the 80s and 90s were sometimes cute, quirky, awesome, but most of the time they were pretty over the top and a mouthful. I mean, we got Star Trek, 2 electronic phasers, and now we have Photon, the ultimate game on planet Earth. They could have just kept things simple, for the Photon game, just name it Photon, and for the phaser guns, just name them phasers. And you also gotta admit that the 80s and 90s had a knack for making things a bigger deal than they really were. But Photon was really popular around this time because, this was the new thing. It was technology, like I said before, given from the US military, where it's supposed to simulate actual military combat. I mean, it was 1984 that Photon was released, so I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if people were stoked about, military grade laser gun games. There wasn't really much going on around this time. I mean, the internet was brought up in January the 1st, 1983, I believe. So, there wasn't really much, okay? Internet was probably still military only at this time, so come on, we got to give these people a bone here, all right? Now, Photon wasn't much different from the laser tag that we know today. I mean, they have the infrared guns, the vest, the pitch black areas that have a little bit of lighting that makes it seem like we're at a rave concert, except we don't have the music and a lot of people are not drugged up. But regardless, it's pretty much the same idea. Now, around the time that Photon was invented, Carter was using secondhand military technology, which meant that they also got issues that the military had experienced while they had this miles system with them. And the military had issues surrounding that people were able to shoot other people even though they were still dead and still be able to score. They had people that were alive being able to shoot dead people and still be able to score. And a bigger thing is that if participants were dead, they can essentially turn off and on their vests so that way they'd be able to respawn with more lives. So they were able to play the game for as long as they want. So it caused a lot of issues. And it's not far to say that Photon had the same issues when it was being released. But lucky for us, the US military decided to put a stop to all that noise. They were like, guys, we gotta put a stop to all of this madness. How are we supposed to simulate actual combat if people are able to reset their vests and get more lives? We can't do that yet. We haven't gotten to that point of technology. I mean, I kind of think that the US military was exaggerating a little bit because, come on, if there was some way to cheat death, wouldn't you want to do that? What if all that you needed to do to cheat death or cheat a fatal shotgun to the head was just turn off your brain and turn it back on? Boom, you got 5 more lives. I mean, come on, this laser tag was supposed to simulate actual combat. Everybody knows in actual combat, if you turn off and on your brain, you get more lives. It's elementary anatomy 101, obviously. Well, it didn't take long for the US military to put patches on these issues because around 1991, they introduced Miles 2. which fixed all of the previous issues that I mentioned. And in addition to that, they added GPS, and this allowed the US military to simulate artillery strikes, chemical, biological, and other type of warfare. Now, I don't know if they use GPS tracking in the modern laser tags, because the only experience I have with laser tag is going to John's Incredible Pizza. And I'm gonna say, the last time that I've been there, their laser tag equipment, it was barely hitting the bar. If there was any bar visible, it would be just about hitting it, because they did have the guns attached to the vest and they did the job. But I hated that after having a match where I completely lost horribly, that I didn't know that in addition to pulling the trigger on the gun, you also had to push a button on the side, because every gun does that now. Every gun has a trigger and a button on the side just to make sure that you actually really want to shoot someone. Now, I probably shouldn't be basing everything that I know of laser tag on just John's Incredible Pizza, but I haven't really experienced any other type of laser tag. I have seen around the internet that there are some laser tags that have like a fully decked out arena, but in regards to the technology that they use, I don't really see much of a difference from John's Incredible Pizza. Now, like I said, I only know from John's Incredible Pizza, but maybe they have GPS, maybe they have the option where you can throw a fake grenade and it's supposed to simulate a chemical warfare. I mean, this is technology that was borrowed essentially from the US military. Now, what I will say is that when I was looking around the internet, I did come across some places that do have a player one campaign where you can just shoot random targets. Now, that seems like fun, but as far as laser tag technology goes, it hasn't really changed much since the last update with the updates of Miles 2. And knowing all this does make me kind of wonder, why hasn't laser tag gotten like an update in like forever? Because it makes me feel like we're running on Windows XP or Windows Vista. It's so old because we're using technology from 1991, Miles 2, as far as I'm aware. And the only thing that was added from Miles 2, aside from all the issues that it had previously, was that it got GPS. That's pretty much it. And I'm pretty sure that we have the technology to be able to give laser tag a facelift, or give it a little fresh polish, or at least something new aside from GPS tracking. I mean, we have VR technology, which I did make a video on previously, so you should probably check that out if you'd like. But we have VR technology, which is able to give us a virtual space where we can shoot people, earthbend, or I don't know, take care of a cow or something. Idea here, if nobody's thought about it, why not combine the two technologies? I mean, I'm sure it would be really expensive, because you got to think about the programmers that have to program like these landscapes that you have to make in order for these laser tag events and all that jazz. But I mean, I would think it would push laser tag into a more modern era, a more technically advanced, if you will, era. Because laser tag has gone down a little bit in popularity, and I believe it resurfaced around 2008, where people now dedicated to laser tag have kind of kept it alive. But as far as right now, I don't really hear people talking about laser tag, and it does make me a little bit sad, because like I said, the last experience that I had with laser tag was when I went to John's Incredible Pizza. That's technically the only experience that I've had with laser tag, and it was pretty fun. It just feels sad that it's only at arcade areas, and it's not something that's more popular like a sport, kind of like paintball. Paintballing is a large sport. A lot of people like to get rocks thrown at them that are filled with paint or something. But it's, I would like to see laser tag kind of go somewhere in that sporty area. It's a little fun. I mean, all I'm saying is it would be a fun sport for like people like me who don't go out much, and the only exercise that they have is moving from my bedroom all the way to the kitchen and back. That's all the exercise that I do. It would be kind of nice to have an indoors sort of sport where there's not that much contact, and if there is anything, it's just someone shoving you to the floor saying, "Get out of my way, loser," and you just kind of lay there crying, being like, "Oh my god, I thought all of this was over. I'm already out of high school. Why is it following me into adulthood?" So with all of that said, what are your guys' thoughts on laser tags? Do you feel like they need an update, or do you feel like they're fine as they are? Or maybe you guys have some toys that you guys have played with and you're like, you know what, it's better as a home activity, not something that should be put in arcade places. Because as far as I'm aware, it feels like arcade places nowadays are kind of like dying out. Like Boomers, the other day that I went to, completely ghost town, not really much people, but I don't know if it's because of the area that I'm in. Maybe there's better things out there than just going to Boomers. But regardless, what are your guys' thoughts? Please let me know on the comments below. I will see you guys later. So with all of that said, good night and goodbye.